Welcome back to Game-Based Learning in the World Language Classroom. The why, what, and how. We're on section 3 of my book, The How. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, Japanese, and English to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. If you want to talk to me about making games, helping me make some games, helping me tweak my games, talk to me at Roxem, Minecraft Education Ambassadors, or the Minecraft Teachers Lounge, Duolingo Educators Network, or at studio-nemo.com. We have been talking about gamifying your classroom. This is actually part 3 because I had to chop the previous episode into 2. We were talking about table groups, gamifying your classroom, that is putting a skin on your class as if your whole class is a game. We talked about classroom economy, and we talked about leaderboards. Maybe there's a little poem you want to teach your class. And one good way to get it really into their head, or maybe even an idiom or something, but poems are good because they got a rhythm to it. So, you've got a game and you want to choose a table group to start with, or you want to choose a person to start the game or whatever, and nobody's volunteering. So you're going to do this kind of eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing. Now, you could just use any old poem, all right? I've done lots of tongue twisters with my classes this way. Like my Spanish class, I wanted them to learn Paco Peco, Chico Rico, insultaba con muy loco, a su tío Federico, este dijo poco poco, Paco Peco, Peco Pico. So, I could point to each table and go, Paco Peco, Chico Rico, insultavo con muy loco, a su... And so I went around the class like that, and eventually, after 6 or 7 times, they knew the poem. Well, it's a poem, it's tongue twister, okay? But, this little eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, the students really love that. They're like, what are you doing? And then they'll catch on, okay? So for Japanese, it's really easy. It's, which one do I choose? And since each syllable is a beat, like with haiku, right? Do, chi, da, ni, shi, ma, sho, u, ka. All right, and then the ka is whoever's it, right? For French, we've got Amstram, gram, pic, pic, cologram, bur, bur, ratatam, Amstram, gram. Okay, for Spanish, I only teach Spanish 1, so I generally use a really easy one. I mean, I told you about Paco Peco, that was really good. But, usually, El cielo es azul, ¿cuántos años tienes tú? Because I want them to know this phrase anyway. But that's really fun. That makes them feel like it's more of a game. Okay, now you can take any activity and add a skin to it. Okay, so let me give you an example. I'm one of 4 Spanish teachers in the district. I'm the only French teacher. I'm the only Japanese teacher. I get to do whatever the heck I want. But when I'm teaching Spanish, I have to follow the same thing that my colleagues are following. And at the time, we were working out of Realidades, which doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, okay, we're all doing presentations about yourself. This is capítulo 2A, and everyone has to say 7 adjectives about themselves. And it was kind of dry. It was like, well, the students are worried about getting up in front of the class and talking about themselves, even though it's just yo soy atrevido. Yeah, right, because you're scared to get up in front of class, right? Yo soy inteligente, whatever it was, but it was that simple. And I was like, oh, it's so dry. What am I going to do? And the bell rang, and 2 students got up, and they were gathering up their stuff. And I just happened to overhear them say something about Total Drama Island. And I was like, bingo! That's what I'm going to do. So 30 seconds at the computer, rewriting the instructions, and I was ready to rock and roll, okay? I just added this wrinkle of, who's my favorite student? Okay, and then I presented it to them like, this is a reality show. I'm going to choose my favorite student. So first of all, we went over, okay, some rules. You have to be honest, okay? And then just reminding them, because we always start with some metacognition, like on Mondays. It was Metacognition Monday, and I just teach them something about brain science, because I really want them invested in why they have to study the way they have to study, okay? So I was just asking them, and I did this all in English so that they wouldn't be confused. What's important in learning? Okay, what's important in memorization? What's just important in being a decent human being? What are some good qualities to have, okay? What are some good life skills to have? All right. And then what do you do in general that's going to impress me? All right. So then, um, they were absolutely atrevidos. They were so great. They really got into it. Um, their posters were even more fun that way. Here, let me pull out a picture of a poster before I talk about the next thing. Like even their posters, like they were just having so much fun with it. They just went over the top. It was just great. It always is. I've been doing this for several years now this way. It's just more fun this way. While they're listening to each other, I have them fill out a little thing. All right. And then at the end, they get to vote, quote unquote, vote on who their favorite student is. And of course, everyone votes for themselves. Sometimes they don't. But, the next day I come and I announce who the favorite is. And lo and behold, my favorite is every single one of my students. All right. So it's this good, like, it turns into this team building thing somehow. Um, if they're at all worried about, oh, I don't have enough to say about myself, I remind them that they know the negative at this point. They can say what they're not, and that's fine. And I have some students just come up and say everything that they're not, and I think it's hysterical. But it's this great thing, and it was so simple to add this little layer on top of what could have been a very boring, very standard assignment. We do a lot of skits. Okay, and I know full well that the silent way and other constructivist approaches believe that language isn't for communication, it's for self-expression, and they really feel like there's no overlap between the two, and students should always be speaking the truth about themselves. There's no reason to say I like pizza if you don't like pizza. I do agree with that to an extent, but I also think that the more wacky you can make things, the more memorable they are. So if I can have them do anything with some element of the bizarre, the students are going to memorize it better. They're going to focus on the silliness. They're not going to focus on the words coming out of their mouths. So when we do skits, I like my skits to be funny. Okay. So just to add a little skin to any skit, sometimes I say, okay, you're stuck on a plane or you're standing in line, something you can't get out of easily. Nosiest. Yeah, okay. The person next to you is just like asking you all these pointed questions. This one we were working on like likes and dislikes. And it could have just been a skit on do you like pizza? No, I don't like pizza. Do you like shoes? No, whatever. But instead, I wanted it to be more fun. Okay, so somebody could get really into it with asking all their nosy questions, and the other person could be rolling their eyes and everything. And so that's really fun. Reality TV shows are all the rage. I just showed you Total Drama Island, but you've got so many to choose from. You've got The Bachelor, you've got The Circle, you've got some kind of house renovation show, you've got this Gordon Ramsay type thing, whatever. Just give them this bizarre scenario, okay? Maybe you're spending the night at a friend's house and the mother's really pushy, and we were working on food here. Mother got up at 4 a.m. to make you breakfast and really wants to like impress you with her breakfast. Okay, so make a skit about that. And how's your friend reacting to the mother being really over the top and everything? So that was a good way to practice our food words and our serving words and stuff like that. So that's great. And then sometimes I'll have them write a skit, and then when they're done with the skit, then I tell them what lens they're doing the skit with. Okay, and so for this one, I'll roll the die, and I'll say, "Oh, you got a 1. Okay, actually, you're on Santa's naughty list. Write the skit as if you're on Santa's naughty list. Go back. So you've already written the skit. Go back and act it out that way. Okay, or here's 4. Okay, you're at a job interview. Act out your skit as if you're at a job interview. Okay, this was uh somebody you just ran into somebody you used to know a while ago. All right, act out the skit that way. Here's the elevator one again. Okay, you're in the elevator and it's broken down and the other person's nervous. Okay, act it out. This was okay, you're standing in line and you hear a song that you're just sick of, and what are you gonna do? Act out the skit like that. I don't know, just adding that wrinkle. You're rich, you don't want to pay taxes. A scam artist comes to you with a wacky idea. I mean, it could be a skit based on that, or it could be just this is your character. Okay, you're at a shoe store. I don't know where I came up with that idea. That was my bonus. If the students didn't like any of the other ones that we rolled. Whose line is it anyway? I talked about before. I like this a lot. Here's the rules. Find a partner. Take as many cards as I tell you to take. Your group is going to wind up with a skit with 3 times as many sentences. So usually I like to put the students in pairs, but sometimes I get a group of 3 if I have an odd number class. Okay. So if I tell you take 2 cards, then your skit's 6 lines long. It doesn't take long to write a 6-line long skit. 5 minutes tops. Okay, you have a blank piece of paper in front of you. This one I said 15 minutes because I had them take like 5 cards or whatever. All right, so then here's an example. This one we did online. I think I showed you this one before. This was really good. But anyway, they have to work those lines into their skit. My mother is a shopaholic, an actual honest-to-goodness shopaholic, and she sends my kids, my children. I have 5 children. She sends them the ugliest clothes you can imagine. She has terrible taste, and she's a shopaholic. So she sends them really ugly clothes, and my kids are like, I don't want this. And I say, wait a minute, I'm not going to donate that because it's too ugly to donate. I'm going to take it to class. And so I have 2 bags and a suitcase full of ugly clothes for our skits. So the students can just grab it, and makes the skit more fun, right? And then, when we play store, these are what gets put out to go shopping for. And then for everyone else listening to the skit, to get more of hitting that really targeted listening, I have just a stack of papers that is just vanilla. Okay, write your sentence frame here. I'm going to write something on the board. This is what you're listening for. Okay, and then I just write every single student's name in the class. I just cut and paste it from Skyward. We used to use Skyward. Now we're in Cumulative. Just cut and paste it from there, and then I just have the blank line, and then I have a setup for the negative here. So for French, it's a little more complicated, but for Spanish, I could just put the no to remind them that the no goes in front of the verb. And then I'm just like, you're listening for this. Tell me what it is they do, what it is they don't do. And so whenever we have a skit, I can just grab it. All right, in our next episode, oh my gosh, I went overtime again. I'm sorry about that. Next episode, I'm going to talk about games I absolutely will not play and why I will not play them in the World Language Classroom. Hope to see you there.